have what, almost 3 million followers on TikTok, around there. And I have, you know, a tiny portion of that, and I post videos and I get a ton of hate comments.
Yeah.
So I can imagine it's like you received that times 1,000.
Correct.
How did you, was that a really difficult time for you to get through emotionally?
Yeah, it was very hard. But I don't give up, and I know what I do. I know I do good, and I'm going to always continue to do that. I'm not going to let anyone take me down.
Yeah. Have you changed your mindset at all, or how you move, and like, what did you learn from that experience?
I mean, I learned that haters are your biggest fans. They're going out of their way to watch your content and criticize you. So it's really not a bad thing. You're going to have haters regardless. You just got to kind of brush it off your shoulder. You can't let it get to you. And I'm a laid back person. I don't really let things get to me. But what I went through, it was definitely tough. I mean, what I recommend to anyone that goes through something, you know, where there's a bunch of hate, just let it go over you, you know? Don't let it get to your head. Don't feed into it. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Easier said than done, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I even see comments and it hurts your feelings.
It definitely does, yeah.
Things that people say, and it takes time to get, unfortunately, you kind of have to get desensitized to it.
Yeah, it takes time, you know? I went through, that whole thing I went through was like 3 or 4 months of people accusing me of stealing money. It's like, come on, you know?
Yeah, I didn't really, you know, and I didn't know, I still don't know you very well, so I didn't have like an opinion on the whole thing. I don't want to say that I came to your defense, because I was kind of just an innocent bystander, like indifferent.
Correct.
I don't know. Like, I don't know what you're capable of. I don't know what's true, what's not true. But what I didn't like, and I did actually make a couple comments on some of the videos, was regardless of the truth of the situation, how some of these people acted, was not appropriate and was immature, and it felt very sick. Like, it felt like people in early recovery, sick people. Like, it reminded me of like the way that maybe I would think and act when I was sick.
I agree.
And so I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. And it seems like, I don't know what ultimately happened. I didn't follow every detail, but it seems to just kind of all of a sudden dissipated.
Yeah, I think over time, and then eventually I met up with one of the people that was accusing me, and I showed him that there was no money misappropriated or stolen or whatever. So I kept quiet the whole time, because why am I going to show my, you know, even though it's a nonprofit that I started, number one, I was new. I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
I got a bunch of money thrown at me. I was helping people, and then they were just jealous people.
Yeah. So. And I understood that as well. That's kind of how I looked at it, because I run a business as well, right? I'm the sole member of my LLC for my business that I run. And starting a business, it is tough, especially I can imagine you start a nonprofit. Like you said, you're blowing up on social media. You get all this money coming in. You're doing your best to figure it out.
Correct. Yeah. And I had no idea.
You had no clue. It's not like you were this, you know, big company that had been in the business for years and had a CFO and all these this big corporate structure.
Correct.
You're just like trying to make the best decision day to day.
That's it. And that's all I was doing. And, you know, people were getting treatment, and that's the main thing, you know, that I care about, is that people are getting treatment. So, and they're being taken care of. All the money that came in simply went to, you know, even as little as getting them a haircut, you know, buying them, going food shopping, giving them money for that. And the one thing that I really never did was just hand them cash.
Yeah.
You know, I'd always monitor it and make sure that they're good.
Yeah, and it's interesting for somebody to be so critical of you on such a small scale, when clearly, I would imagine if we look at the books and you look at the numbers, where how efficient you are with that money is going to be way more efficient than all of these large nonprofits that we look at. You're not throwing extravagant parties and flying on jets, and you know, it's in the big scheme of things, it's a small amount of money, and you're probably using all of it, or almost all of it, is actually going where you're saying it's going, versus a lot of companies aren't able to do that. Correct.
And I actually came out of my own pocket, you know, roughly, I'd say up to date, maybe $60,000, $70,000. Because once everyone started accusing me of, you know, misappropriating the money, that's where I had to come out of pocket. And it was tough.
Come out of pocket, and like, what made you come out of pocket, and for what?
Because there was no more funding coming in.
Gotcha.
Because everyone was accusing me of being a thief.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I stayed quiet, and me staying quiet, I looked like I was, I guess, a thief. But that's just how I handle things,
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know if it would have made it better or worse for you to be more vocal. I know you addressed it a little bit. Has that, now that that's kind of died off, has money started coming back in through the nonprofit?
Not really. No matter what, if you start a nonprofit, it's hard getting funding.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna have someone work for you full time trying to get grants or from the government.
Right.
It's really hard to get funding unless you do a fundraiser or something like that. But I'm so busy as it is. So I think I have someone coming on board that's going to help me with that.
Okay.
Which is really going to help because I just want to get back to helping people.